3, 2, 1.
Ja, thanks dat julle ingepoel het. Baie welkom by Chats met Rikus. Dit is ons eerste podcast. Baie chill, daar's nie reels nie. Ons gaan baie doen wat ons doen, soveel wat ons doen, wat ons altyd doen. Ek het 'n paar gaste vandag saam met my genooi. Een is 'n ou wat ek sal you're kind of my friend.
No.
Not really. Nee, it's 'n baie cool pel van my, ou wat baie betrokke is in social media en social marketing en laat jy goed Dale. Baie welkom Chom. Dankie dat jy ingepoel het.
Thank you very much.
En ons natuurlik vir Elmas. As ek die groen hoedjie aan het, is sy Ellas, maar Elma.
Nou is ek net Elma.
Nou is jy Elma, nou is jy net 'n ander Chom. Ons wil 'n bietjie vandag chat oor influencers, online influencers, hoe companies meer social media gebruik, hoe companies meer social online goed gebruik versus die normale mainstream media. Wat is die verskille, wat is die dangers en goed daarvan? Want dit het die laaste ons het nou nog ons het actually of eer nou gepraat. Dit het actually baie ontplof. Dale, ek dink as jy net kan begin and by the way Dale is English, so it's not his fault. En ek kan ook Engels praat, by the way.
Beloof?
I swear.
It's quite funny because I'm the only English person here, but also the only non-influencer. I guess the question would be to you guys: would you consider yourselves influencers? Do you guys?
I think you have a responsibility once you have a following. So yeah, I think then you automatically are. Just explain to us. Daar gaan eens met ons water. As dit nou bier was, sou ek dit nooit mors nie. Maar just explain for us van jou perspectief. Wat doen jou? Ek bedoel jou company is content, obviously. Just give us a bit of background.
So we're a creative marketing company that sort of specializes in content around the social space, and we often work with sort of major brands that come in and ask us to source influencers for them to use to spread the word of whatever message they're trying to push for their brand. There's other spheres to what we do, but I mean that's essentially it's part of what we do.
So you'd say that you work on the strategy end, and we probably almost focus on execution rather.
I guess you would look at an influencer in the same vein as you would look at it as a billboard, right? To put in layman's terms, you would feed the information into the influencer and then hope that they deliver the right message that your brand would want them to give. But it doesn't always work like that because you also want things to be relevant and you want them to resonate with the audience.
Yeah.
You know, if you speak, let's for instance, if you were pushing a makeup product, I don't think your audience would buy it.
Well, anyway.
What's interesting to me on that topic is when I worked at Five around the start of Twitter, which was like 2009, 2010, one of the first things, we obviously got someone in to come talk to us about how you position your a station brand, a brand's Twitter as opposed to like a personal Twitter profile. And the logic there was that people will always follow people over brands. So getting people to follow a brand is always harder than getting them to follow a person, which is why what I think a lot of people miss about influencer culture, they go, oh, influencers is so overrated. But there is a reason brands give their product to people. I mean,
yeah, so there's three core reasons. It's like you said, humanizes the brand, so therefore it makes the brand relatable. And then it's reach and resonance. So influencers' reach is really important. But then you start to look at and how the industry sort of created it for itself. And now we talk about micro influencers, macro influencers. Somebody spoke about the other day about internal influence, which is the influence that that resonates within your business. So what influence you have within your business and how your staff talk to each
business
other.
culture type thing.
Yeah, 100%. For me, I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off by saying this, but I think the only real influence there is celebrity influence. If you're looking at mass influence, we look at there's niche influence and niche ideas and things that we'd follow, like car guys love car guys. I mean, I know nothing about cars, but for that reason, then would follow a car guy with a very not necessarily small, but in this conversation, small influence. But it's a lot more of a real audience
and engaged op 'n specifieke topic.
Well, if they're interested. So I mean, if you're interested in something, you're gonna watch something, right?
En jy het al daai hele progressiewe dinge gehad. Ek bedoel jy het begin in radio. Toe jy oor supersport toe, TV toe en nou ook het jy weer meer consciously die decision gemaak om te skuif online
Digital toe.
toe.
Ja.
Dis net soveel meer vryheid. En dis net soveel makliker om want ons praat nou oor influencing en ek weet in die ou dae was daar was nog steeds in die ou dae al nog voor social media. I mean the rugby players, whoever got the sponsored cars, got all of this, and that was also a form of influencers like to say like, ja, maar jy weet, Baksteen Kordier ry my Toyota.
Media hasn't changed, it's just evolved.
Exactly.
It's not like we've got something brand new, it's just completely evolved in how we engage with the audiences. It's just much more one-on-one now than it was versus a brand. So a branded car, it would speak to a larger, more variety of audience, where is now you're speaking to a very specific audience.
Yeah, but I think that much in the same way as TV didn't kill radio, it just changed radio. I don't think digital will kill off mainstream media. It's just changing the way in which we make mainstream media, we present it. I think that video will still always be in high demand, even though TV might be in a weird kind of transformative space. But radio is still around, and people predicted the end of radio like 5 decades ago.
And I mean, I love radio, but radio is just moving to podcast, right?
Yeah.
So but radio is still important. I mean, offline, you made such a really cool point about radio and resonance with regards to how people consume the messages from advertisers on radio. It's just evolved. Outdoor media has now become a lot more digitized. We're seeing a lot more digital screens. It's just things are evolving. So it's not like we should be worried about the shutdown of these channels. It's interesting though, digital media spend is a lot more focused on social, and it's obviously social's growing, and whereas radio, print's obviously declining, and television is declining. But interestingly enough, outdoor is staying the same. So, I mean, it's these kinds of trends that we're seeing, but it's just a case of evolving, essentially. So it's just the evolution of digital media.
What would your advice be to someone who wants to be an influencer?
Don't.
Wat is 'n influencer? Want almal is mos nou deesdae 'n influencer. Jy kry vir al die jong soos kinders sê ek wil so graag 'n influencer hê. Hulle doen die wackste stuff. Ek spring en tackle bome en sulke goed en hulle dink daai following omdat mense kyk vir die verkeerde redes essentially maak hulle nou 'n influencer. Ek bedoel, wat is die definisie?
Although if they can tackle trees on a regular occasion, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So and that's jackass, right? So and we all enjoyed that at one stage in our lives. So I think to develop influence, and I'm sorry I'm not answering your question. But I really wasn't actually listening to you. I was just veering off. So it's an ice cream truck. Influence is based on talent. So influential people are talented people. So they gain a following because people believe in what they're saying. You two are two very talented individuals with a nice following. The jackass guys.
Where now?
I mean, I'd like to come back here. The jackass guys were talented at making people funny. They were funny guys, therefore they had influence. For another example, models are talented people. They have influence. But taking selfies of yourself on your grand's couch doesn't make you a model.
Exactly.
So
ek het al getraaid werk.
But I mean, let's look at your journey, right?
Yeah.
So you came. I mean, it was a WhatsApp message that you sent to mates, that mates forwarded to mates, that mates forwarded to mates. You essentially went, and I hate the word viral, but you went viral because you had a talent. It was funny, and it spoke to a very specific audience. It was a group of guys that really enjoyed it, and then said, "Geez, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this," and all of a sudden, it's blossomed into this wonderful career. There's people that have had things go viral, and voice notes go viral, and voice clips go viral. My fuck Marlies is not going to become a comedian.
No.
She's just going to help some other arsehole sell shirts. So there's got to be a specific talent, and you've got to be able to build on that. So influence it's just large following. I mean, influence, we can bullshit influence. We can buy followers.
Yeah. And as a woman, I've always kind of been struck by this decision that you almost have to make, particularly in a digital space, about whether you want to build your career on selfies and your boobs.
Exactly. It's easy.
Because that's very easy. I mean, clapping 150,000 followers if you're mainly posting your cleavage is actually not that hard.
I beg to differ.
You can do better on Pornhub, actually.
I mean, I can't. I find it impossible.
It depends on the quality of the cleavage, but the problem is that the quality of the cleavage will necessarily decline. So you'll be good for a few years, and depending on how much money you're spending on the maintenance of it. But you're not building a brand which is necessarily going to sustain itself over a few decades. So I came into the media space very consciously, making the decision to not go that way, to never actually posing for FHM or doing anything in that vein on any of my own platforms, because I never wanted that to be my unique selling point. But then you do end up ring fencing yourself a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's like a trade-off that you tend to make.
This world of immediate gratification is scary. It scares the shit out of me. So I see people taking selfies and then literally watching their data and watching how many likes they get and how many people comment on their posts. And if they don't get enough, they delete those posts.
Oh, that's my worst. It's a thing.
And then repost them to see how much, if they can get it, get the same sort of reaction again. But a lot of the time we are not who we are online. So from a digital space, it's easy to pick up a persona. For instance, who you are and who Jonathan are is
different.
Good English.
You. En dis jou eerste taal.
Yeah, exactly. Are two very different people, but there's a facade, and I think a lot of people try that facade online. So who they are on Instagram. That Fire Festival documentary is a great thing to look at if you want to understand that. Exactly.
What's your thinking? Sorry, what's your thinking on sponsoring posts? Does it come back to bite you? Because obviously the social networks want you to sponsor posts in order to grow your audience.
So it's completely necessary. So there's no such thing as organic growth in the social space, and that's because the likes of Facebook, Twitter are businesses and they want to make money, right? So they need you to pay money to get your reach. That's fine. That's the model, and that's how the business works. If you want to generate some sort of growth, you would need to sponsor posts. But it's authenticity, right? So if I see a sponsored post of a 23-year-old girl, and it's a selfie and she's on Camps Bay Beach and it's not necessarily pushing any product, then this person's trying to sort of generate some influence through a sponsored post. It doesn't really resonate with me because I start to think that it's a little bit, it's not authentic. Like you lose all authenticity. So when we get a brief from clients around using influencers, we sort of do some deep diving and research into what influencers would work for our clients. You guys work in a space of that's very expensive, but it's worth that expense, right? Because we know that we're getting a professional end product from you. We know that you're going to deliver the goods. More often than not, a lot of agencies are not doing the research, the required research. I'm sure you've both got messages from PR people that are so way off.
Strange briefs,
and it doesn't really work for your brands. A lot of people take what they can get. A lot of people sort of look past that, and that's professionalism that we would look for.
I completely disagree. Well, you would know better, but in terms of the sponsoring thing, don't you think an organic ad or an organic piece of content, for that matter, is soveel meer impak as hy groter reach het?
But it's impossible.
Yeah,
it's not impossible. I mean, so you're thinking from your perspective, right?
But
your brand is a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah.
So we talk about.
I'm just thinking, to interrupt you, if there's, especially with seeing it and being interactive, ek het gedink dat daai sielkundige ding van 'n ou as Pietie my tag in iets, gaan ek kyk van Pietie en ek spelle. As jy my tag is, gaan ek kyk aan ek en jy spelle. As daar enige product mention in daai stukkie content is of wat ook al, waarin jy my getag het wat ek trust en ek kyk, gaan ek 10-1 daaraan belangstel of gaan kyk aan want ek trust jou. So waar ek voel dit vir my baie keer op die sponsored goeders is daai ek weet nie of jy dit kan opweeg.
How did Pietie see it first though? That's the thing.
Oh, well.
So there's a mix,
okay,
right? It's quality of content. Yeah, so it's quality of content. So if the content's shit, I'm not going to share it. I don't really give a shit about it.
Then it doesn't matter how much budget you put behind it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't flog it in.
So it's a balance.
Yeah, exactly.
So content is still king, basically.
I think content will always be king. I hate that though. Like I hate the idea that content is king. I think strategy is important behind it. So much that builds up to this piece of content that we create. We created a campaign last year, And we went on a weekend away together
Yeah, was so much fun.
to come up with this concept that we worked so hard on. And then people see the final product.
Yeah.
So that piece of content, it is king, but there's so
It's a
much
process.
shit that goes on behind to get to that point. Like an influencer. So an influencer, you work your ass off to be where you are. I mean, I've sort of followed Elma's career from MK to now. She's worked her ass off to keep on brand with her own personal brand, her own personal message. And that's given you such like
You build integrity.
credible.
Yeah.
You're a credible
Credibility.
influencer. And that's what we look at, credibility.
Yeah.
Because that resonates with an audience.
What platform choices or what influences the platform choices you use? Do you go all out?
No, it just depends on the client. It's really on the client's objective. So, I'm, and this is gonna piss both of you off, but I hate influencers. I don't like working with influencers.
Fucking I do too.
Fair enough. Influencers often. So I like the idea of letting influence. So if you get the right influencers with the right brand,
It works.
It can cook. When we've seen a really cool work in a South African context, from that point of view. I just think, and maybe I'm at fault, 100% I'm at fault, but the influencers if we've chosen and the influencers we've used, they've never ever followed through with the brief. So if we said to them, look, we need this amount of content to come through, it's always become second. So like it's become second to their own brand. So it's cool, okay, you're pushing
But
tag.
it's tough though. I mean, if you do you think of a more subtle approach versus a more advertised approach? I mean, if we are doing this glass with absolutely fuck all in there, and I'm like constantly talking about it, or if it's just there and people over a time associate that brand with our brand, don't you think that's more powerful?
It's 100%. So the subtle,
Like
being
a
subtle is
hardcore
incredibly
sell is
important.
irritating. That this is what the cock is doing.
100%, but it has to fit within the narrative.
Yeah.
And so you're caught between a rock and a hard place, right? Because I've got the client who's saying, I need the brand, like
Front and center.
I need Rikus to tattoo the brand on his face.
But do they realize that actually in the long term is bad for their brand? Because we've had a couple of stuff that clients come to us and say, listen, we want to do this, we want to do that, but they don't realize if you punt the shit out of that thing the whole time, people get irritated.
They leave.
And they get off your
What
page.
is
But
and
because
they
we've lived in a world where we feel like we've punted shit our whole lives with TV, radio, and billboards. So as a marketer, all I've ever seen, and you're cognizant of your own brand. So if I work for ABSA and I walk down the road and I see ABSA, I don't see the Nedbank billboards that are in between everyone because
it's true. You're
I'm
thinking
thinking
from
about
another perspective.
What is the ideal load that you should have on your social media profile?
Yeah, but you're
I
right.
mean, you know.
No, but that's
what
I'm
saying.
asking. What
So
is
we
if you're trying to manage your own profile and you're taking sponsored posts on board, or if you're following someone, you go, geez, this person actually sells their soul too much.
The whole time.
Like, what is the ideal? What does the research say?
So you spoke about a ratio of 30 to 80, 30 to 70.
Yeah, 30-70.
30,
Yeah.
70, 30, 80, 110%. Sorry. I'm always just pushing as hard as I can.
English, maths, yeah.
I literally have no skills. So that 30-70 split is really cool. It's a nice way of looking at it. For me, it's just like what feels natural. Like if you start to begin to feel that your product push is not feeling natural, and I think everybody can be honest with themselves to some degree with regard to that. I think as soon as you feel like you're not being natural, then
I actually said no to a campaign this week because, like, it's a great product. It's just not the one I use.
Yeah, but everybody
to,
needs some sort of bum cream.
Ja. Hemorrhoids. Dis is interessant. So ek stem nog gesom. Jy as influencer sal weet wat is jou brand en jou following wat jou vir 'n rede follow en hoekom hulle jou follow. So jy moet half daai gevoel vir jouself. Ek meen as jou job is, as people na jou toe kom en na jou follow omdat jy karre review. Obviously, dan 100% van jou goed.
Okay, but it comes down to, and I'm gonna lick your ass a bit, but that idea of don't be a doers. So just be a normal human being, and people will buy into that. Work hard, know yourself, and do the right things at the right time, and people will buy into you. So if you want to be an influencer, work your ass off, or be really super talented, and you'll get there.
What is your take on? So there's a very steady split, particularly in female influencers, between like very aspirational girls who only ever post looking phenomenal, and it's only ever glamour and it's only ever out there, like much like Rikus, and then you have a like a whole kind of subset of Instagram accounts which is all about being real, like the Busy Phillips posting the whole time without wearing makeup, and the Iskra Lawrence with she is not a skinny girl, she's a plus size model, but she started as a plus size influencer before she was a plus size model. So, and then their whole approach is this is the raw, the real, the honest truth.
But it's not really, like it's not completely honest. It's not like there's always some sort of editing. So there's always some form of editing.
So but it's trying to look at make true.
But no media is completely 100% honest.
No, so it's all a bit contrived.
It's all perspective. It's
ons goed, obviously, ons is well.
Completely unedited shot.
Done.
So that's the thing. So
I woke up like this.
Yeah, me too. But the difference is I did.
So basically to wrap up, Basically to wrap up, I mean, there is no quick way of being an influencer or being socially famous. It basically comes down, people see that as the end result, but it's a lot of hard work getting there.
But how long have you been doing this for?
I've been in media since I was at school. I started in radio when I was in high school. So I've been making content since I was 17.
You?
Oh, well, we're going for 5 years now.
Yeah.
But it's that's a long time. If you look at it in perspective, it's a long time. And in those 5, like, how many weekends have you Oaks worked?
Oh no.
How much time with your families have you missed? How many like jaws with your mates have you missed? Like
weddings,
you've grafted your asses off. We talk about rugby players. They have exceptional influence. Of course they do.
But
they're talented people. They have 80,000. They've worked their whole lives for that influence. It doesn't come overnight.
Pop a knee, then it's done.
What I'd like to see more of, though, on social media in general, is people going online with a clear kind of plan, with a strategy. Yeah. The same way you would go in to make a TV show or go in to make a traditional radio show, where you actually respect the consumer enough to have a clear message and a plan and an idea of what your story is, what your unique selling points are, how you want to be positioned, and the message that you want to build over a period of time, instead of just trying to go for the short hits now.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. Like, that'd be ideal. I think, and anybody can create their own strategy. Like, if you can, really think about what message you want to create from a social space, and maybe you don't want to be an influencer. Maybe you just want to
say something.
Yeah, you have something to say, or you enjoy pictures of your family, which is another conversation that we have to talk about. That's exceptionally dangerous.
Yeah.
I just saw yesterday a mate of mine take a picture of their kid. At school, in their school uniform, and they didn't know what their privacy settings were doing. So they had the world. So if you see the world there, the privacy setting, your privacy, anybody can see your stuff. I mean, if we can't even understand how safe or
unsafe
we are in social spaces, like, I don't know how. But I'm rambling.
Cool.
So it's basically what the long and the short of it is find out what you want to use social for. And use it for that. Like, you don't have to impress everyone. Just have fun with it. If you want to impress people and you want to be taken seriously, work hard and create a strategy around it. And
do you have to post every day?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think often less is more. Like,
exactly.
But so there's a fine balance. You don't want to go. You don't want to go missing. But it's strategy.
But I feel like the algorithm rewards you when you haven't posted in a while, don't you?
I don't know. It's a difficult question.
Ja,
it's
anecdotal.
But vir my voel dit is 'n ware ding. Van partykeer kyk ek ouens wat dit voel of daai ou voel asof hy 'n alarmpie aan het.
Ja.
En daai girl of daai ou gegaan het so ek moet seker iets post en dan sit iets random soos 'n muggievlerk of iets.
Well, it's the same as it's Instagram stories. Like, it's like there's mates of mine that post Instagram stories and there's 50 like stories.
50 tiles and you go.
You need to charge your battery 3 times.
I can't poo that long.
I've seen you poo and you poo that.
I just want to get.
On that note,
all of them. Yeah.
Guys, thanks.
Lekker.
We'll do it again. Misschien volgende keer ons ietsie anders in. 'n Guffie. You never know.
Well, let's arrange it for later in the day.
Yeah, we will. Thanks.
Cool.
Lekker.
Thanks, guys.
Dankie.
Thanks.